Hey everyone, welcome to Lowdown. I am your host for today, Adam. Aaron could not join me today, so I thought, why not do a solo show by myself? Sounded like a good idea at the time. Today we're going to look back at the Royal Rumble this past Sunday. We're going to look at performances and how everyone did, how the championship's looking, how the tournament is looking. So let's go ahead and get it started. First off, let's talk about who's hot and who's not. We do have a new little format with us for the lowdown. And first up is who's hot, who's not. Basically looking at who had a great pay-per-view and who didn't. The Royal Rumble is probably, this year especially, probably one of the harder pay-per-views, mainly because of the Royal Rumble match. And it didn't disappoint this year. And probably what was one of the hardest matches, and as long as I can remember, was the Royal Rumble. And there's a few people who got that match right, and two of those actually came home with a pay-per-view win and 100% because of picking the Royal Rumble, and they are who's hot. And that will be Darlene and Brent. Darlene earned 23 out of 23 points, and she moves up 5 spots to 5th. Which she's been doing that lately, kind of falling back and moving back up, making big jumps and leaps. And Brent earned 23 out of 23, picking Sheamus to win the Rumble along with Darlene and Evan. Darlene and Brent made the most of it with 100% of the pay-per-view. Brent moves to second place, just 13 points behind the leader, Mike. So it was a big pay-per-view for Brent in terms of getting back in the championship, and he gained some points on Mike, and that was important. There's a few championship contenders who didn't. Brian and Aaron did not make any points on Mike. So good for Brent and Darlene as well. Congrats to you two. They are our performers of the night, obviously. You can't turn down someone going 100%, especially the Rumble. Picking the Royal Rumble this year was pretty challenging. Alright, who's not? Gotta say Jacob, who only earned 6 points at the Rumble, drops him from 4th to 7th. 31 points behind the leader. And he was, he was 4th heading into this pay-per-view. Drops back to 7th. I'm not saying it's over, but I don't know. Could have done better, but the plus to the Royal Rumble, as well as the minus, is there's not many matches typically at the Rumble. So even if you don't get the Rumble, and you know, Evan, Darlene, and Brent were the only ones who picked Sheamus for the Rumble, so they earned 7 points that no one else did. While 7 points is a decent amount, it's not a lot. You can still gain that back. You can gain that back at Elimination Chamber. That's a big pay-per-view. You've got about 6 people in the chamber matches. 5, 6. So, and those are 10 points apiece, and there's 2 of them. So you can easily gain 7 and some back. But the problem with the Royal Rumble is the pay-per-view itself is the Rumble match takes up so much time that there isn't a lot of room for other matches. So I think this time it was only 23 points that you could earn. That's kind of on the lower side for 10 count, especially with the new point system. So that's kind of a plus and minus. The plus is the Royal Rumble has 30 people in it. So you know, we have 14 members. They can all pick someone different, and still no one could earn points on that. Whereas there's only, like this time, there's only 3 other matches on the card, and there was a 10-point, a 6-pointer, and then a 2-pointer. So yeah, you could get the pay-per-view, you could get the Royal Rumble match right and get 7 points. But you're not going to gain as many points on everybody because there's only 3 other matches. So, whereas TLC you can gain ridiculous amount of points just because there's title matches that have specialties, and anyways, it can be it can be a plus. That's what I like about matches where there's more than 2 participants. Is people can that's how you gain points, is by picking someone and other people didn't. I mean, that's basically how this works, obviously. So when you have more people in a match, it can be easier to gain points. Just because they're there doesn't mean they're going to win. You can look at Elimination Chamber coming up. That could be a big pay-per-view for some people, because like I said, there's 6 people in that match. Not everyone more than likely is going to go with the same person. 14 people, not everyone's going to go there. So you can still gain points on people, and it's time to do it because we've only got 2 more pay-per-views to go until it's over. So that's important. Not really much in terms of championship contenders. Like I said, Brent moved up to 2nd, and is, I believe, 13 points behind Mike. Yes, and Brian is 20, 21. So it's still tight, but they're running out of time. Speaking of running out of time, the tournament, the Keaton Invitational Tournament, the 3rd annual Keaton Invitational Tournament, is making its way to the finals. And on our way was 2 matchups we had. First up was Darlene versus Jacob. Darlene defeats Jacob 23-6, which earns Darlene 4 extra points toward the championship and advances her to the finals at WrestleMania 28. So congratulations, Darlene. It's your first time in the finals of a tournament. So congrats. The second matchup was Mike versus Brian. First and second place heading into the Rumble in points. Mike 16 to Brian 16 points, which means we got us a tie. What happens when there's a tie in the tournament is we have set the tournament up in a way to where most rounds, after they're over, they have a break, one pay-per-view at least, between that and the next round. And for Royal Rumble, there's Elimination Chamber between round 3 and round 4. Round 4 is obviously WrestleMania 28. So we will break the tie between Mike and Brian at Elimination Chamber for the extra 4 points and the final spot in the finals at WrestleMania. Now this matchup is probably what I think is the most important for Mike right now, because if Mike is defeated, this will mean big points for Brian and Darlene, and a loss here could cost Mike the championship. As I said, Darlene is 5th place, and then Brian is 3rd place, 20 points behind. If Brian earns 4 points for round 3, if he beats Mike at the Elimination Chamber, that's 4 points, plus the 5 if he beats Darlene at WrestleMania. So that's 9 points. That pretty much cuts Mike's lead in half to Brian. And that doesn't even count what happens at the Rumble, or excuse me, what happens at the Elimination Chamber, or what happens at WrestleMania. Same thing for Darlene. Depending on if she beats Brian at WrestleMania, she also gets 9 points. That Mike is big. You've got to do something. This is a win-win. You got to win this pretty much. I mean, if he loses, he could still be champion, obviously, but why make it harder on yourself? And I do believe that is it for the tournament talk. Again, Darlene defeats Jacob 23-6. She moves to the finals at WrestleMania. Mike and Brian are tied, and they will go to the tiebreaker Elimination Chamber to decide who goes to the finals against Darlene at WrestleMania for the final 5 points. Sorry. Which will equal a total of 14 points through the whole tournament. That's what the winner earns. You can't. The most you can get in a match for a match is 13 points. So this is just over, and that's a match that never happens. A specialty with a special occasion, a title on the line, an upper card title on the line, and that hardly ever happens. That would probably have to be, say, the WWE title in a cage match where the loser has to leave Raw or something, and that stuff like that hardly ever happens. So 14 points is huge. As you can see, that bumped Darlene up. Those extra 4 points helped out quite a bit, because again, no one else earned those 4 points except, and even Brian and Mike haven't earned those yet. So 4 extra points there. I think that's it in terms of tournament and pay-per-view results. Next up, we just got a few odds and ends in terms of 10 count as a whole. As some of you may know, you may have seen it, we are planning on going to the Over the Limit pay-per-view in May. If you would like to go, tickets will go on sale in late February. We plan on buying tickets around that time, maybe early March. Probably what we're going to do is collect money before we buy tickets. If you are interested, again, let us know. We should have more information for you shortly on, details about how we're going to do it and handle it, and, price and all that stuff. Also, finally, before I head out, just want to say that our tag team division is still looking for a team or two. If you or someone you know is interested in joining, please do let us know. On Facebook, or email, send me or Brian a message on Facebook or email. We are also 10 count. If you know someone who might be interested in just 10 count, the singles division, what we're talking about now, let us know. We'll be happy to look into it and see if they would make a good addition to the 10 count roster. I think that's it. I hope I haven't bored you to death, and I hope it made somewhat sense. Kind of did this on the fly, I'm not gonna lie. That rhymed. But again, I hope it didn't bore you, I hope it made sense, and I wish you luck at Elimination Chamber. So until next time, this has been the Lowdown, and keep the lowdown on the down low. See you guys.